want to talk a little bit about the term inclusive education. We often hear that term within the disability movement to have inclusive education, meaning that all of the students should be in the same classroom, even if there are disabled children. They should be in the classroom with children without disabilities. For deaf children specifically, that is not always successful. Because if there is one deaf child in a classroom with all children who can hear, whether the other children have disabilities or not, the deaf child is isolated and at a disadvantage based on language. But inclusive education has really been a negative for deaf students. I think it is wonderful and important as part of the movement around disability, but with deaf students, we have to be thinking more specifically about language access and what that looks like. We want to provide a rich immersion environment for deaf students in their own natural visual signed language. What that most often looks like is a large group of deaf students in class together where they can all sign with each other and learn through active learning and incidental learning in the classroom where they can see each other and how they're interacting and what language they're using. If there's only one deaf child in the classroom, very often they are left out of all of the other conversations that are happening in the room around them. If all of the students are deaf and all are signing, then they have full access to all of that information. We have to be clear what we mean by inclusive education for deaf students. Bilingual education is so important for deaf students. In the United States, we believe strongly and practice that in our schools so that classrooms have teachers who are using sign language and the students are interacting with their teachers and with their fellow students in sign language all day long. That way they have the support to learn concepts and develop their understanding. With younger children, that kind of language exposure works very well and they're able to pick up the language pretty quickly. The older the child gets, the more difficult it becomes, so early access to sign language is critical. As deaf children are learning to read and write, they're connecting the concepts that they know in sign language with the written words and the written language.